Among Us in VR has been out for quite a few days now, and the lobbies are full, it's easy to find a game, and it's actually pretty challenging. However, with all of the hype surrounding the game's release, a lot of players might not be seeing the bigger picture. The issue hiding in the vents for this game that could be a real problem sooner than we think if we don't talk about it now. This is Among Us in VR's biggest problem. Now, get relaxed, let your hands accidentally slip and click that subscribe button, and maybe even type a couple words of wisdom in the comments section. If this does well, maybe I'll do more videos just like this one too. But first, a quick message from today's sponsor.
Friendbox is a unique upcoming social VR game that is a blend of VR chat and Omegle. In Friendbox, you create your avatar while also getting a world to build and design yourself. You can then match with other players like an Omegle, and when this happens, both your world and theirs appear connected next to each other's. You can even filter your matches through language, purpose, or age, or just go completely random. When matched, you can see and chat with other players in their world while trading items and engaging in different activities. Friendbox is set to release charitable loot options which would support real-life problems. When the game launches, it is set to be free to play, no paywalls, and have no pay-to-win content, while also being playable both inside and outside of VR. More on this a little bit later in the video.
Okay, time to call an emergency meeting. Among Us in VR is fun, there's no lying. I enjoy it, you enjoy it, we all enjoy it, but for how long? Among Us in VR is late to the party, like years late to the party. Let me explain. So back in 2020, when Among Us was all over YouTube, there already was a great version of Among Us in virtual reality that was free and really popular. This was a community-made version of Among Us inside of VR chat. I made a video on how to play this back in 2020, and it's still playable till today. So if you want to play a free version of Among Us in VR, it still is there to check out. Yes, it wasn't official, but it was a really good copy of Among Us, and more importantly, the speed that it was remade in VR was really impressive. Rec Room also had its own version of Among Us, but it was really the VR chat version that stood out to me. It was really well made in such a short amount of time. Fast forward a few years, and the official version of Among Us in VR is here. It took a while, but finally, here. So how is it? What's the problem? Well, the game is great. The mechanics were translated into VR really well. Completing tasks, running around when the lights get sabotaged, and venting as the imposter are all really fun in virtual reality. Having hand gestures really adds to the game a lot. And having the proximity chat and knowing if someone's on your left side or your right side makes the game a lot more immersive and really tense for the crewmates. But there are three huge things missing from the flat screen version of Among Us that didn't come across to the VR version that could really hold it back in the long term. The first being cams. If you've played the game, you probably already have come across this. When you go to the cams room, it's out of order and not usable. There's a big crack on the screen and it literally says it's out of order. And although there's cams everywhere around the map looking up the corridors. Out of all three things missing from the game, this one is the one I believe is most likely to be implemented first. Cams is a key part of the Among Us experience on flat screen, and having it in virtual reality, as this is the same scaled map, just makes sense. Talking about the scaled map, that leads to Among Us VR's next problem, the lack of maps. Now, I understand the player base for the VR version of the game is not as big as the flat screen version, so maybe keeping everyone playing on the same map is needed to allow people to quickly jump into full lobbies. Potentially, if they introduced other maps, there wouldn't be enough players at all times to allow for full lobbies because players will be playing across a selection of maps instead. I do hope we see other Among Us maps come to virtual reality. In my opinion, I think the addition of maps as time goes on will encourage players to keep coming back because there is a variety of maps to play on. This too is something I think is only a matter of time to be introduced, I hope. That is, if they don't take as long to release a single map as they took to release the entire game. It was a long time. Thirdly, and the biggest problem that I believe Among Us VR is facing right now, is the lack of game setting customization. Right now, there is no altering kill cooldown times, choosing the amount of imposters, or any other setting to change up the gameplay and matches. This to me just seems like a necessary addition. People like to be able to change up the rules of the game, either making it a little bit more difficult or a little bit more easy in different games. It really changes up the gameplay. Now, I'm not saying I don't enjoy the game, because I do. I really enjoy it, and I'm not bored of this game at all, and I don't think I will be for quite a while. I'm just saying that in the near future, to keep people playing, I think the game needs all three of these things. Maybe the developers could release some kind of roadmap so we know what's coming to the game, and we could all get excited for upcoming releases. I want to hear your thoughts on this one, and say if you had to choose, if only one of these updates came to the game, which one do you think is the most important one that Among Us in VR needs? Now, if you want to play Among Us live with me and be in with a chance of winning $100 of Quest Store credit, I'll tell you how in just a second. Firstly, here's a little more from today's sponsor.
Back to Friendbox. Friendbox is on Kickstarter right now and have lots of different stretch goals. For example, if the campaign reaches €100,000, not only will the game release with over 3,000 items, a 2-on-2 mode would also be added to the game. I'm excited to see this project gain traction and hopefully be playable in the near future. If you want Friendbox to happen, you can support the Kickstarter and claim some limited edition rewards. For example, if you pledge €40, you receive a world slot, 20 loot boxes, and everything from each tier below, which is a lot of bonuses. If you do back the project, you also get access to their Discord group, where the developers have said they will listen closely to players' input to see what the community really wants. If you are interested in finding out more and supporting Friendbox, there is a link in the description linking to their campaign, and thanks again to Friendbox for sponsoring today's video.
So, if you want to play Among Us live with me, you can. I'm going to be doing a live stream very soon, so make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on it. As well as that, like the past few months, I'm going to again be giving away a $100 Quest Store voucher to someone who is on the secret mailing list. If you want to enter and you're not already a part of the secret mailing list, sign up to the secret mailing list in the pinned comment down below and you're automatically entered into this month's giveaway. Thanks for watching, I'll see you in the live stream, and you'll probably enjoy this video right here, so you should check that out too.